What's up guys, it's your boy Christian back at it again with another video, and today we are doing a timeline breakdown of the Quarantine Cinematic B-roll sequence. Now this isn't an overly complicated sequence, but I just have had a few people message me on how some of the edit was done as well as how some of the sound design was put together, so I decided to put together this video. Actually could even become a new series where I break down timelines and their respective videos. If you think it could be cool, leave a comment down below and I'll check it out. Otherwise, let's get right into the video. Okay, so right before we jump into the video, two things I gotta go over real quick. One is the song that I used. It's called Candy by Uwe. I found it on Epidemic Sound. You guys always ask me what kind of music I use, and I always forget, and I can never find it after I used it. So I'll just mention it right off the bat. It was called Candy, spelled K-H-A-N-D-I by Uwe. The second thing that I wanted to go over was the picture profile that I used in the video. I had some of you guys ask me what kind of picture profile I used, and it ended up being the James Matthews Cine settings that he put out, I want to say a week or two ago. I'm not going to include those settings in the video because that would be just blatantly stealing something that he came up with, but what I will do is I'll link his video in the description below where you can click it. It'll open up in a new tab and you can go to his video, give him the view, watch it. Definitely subscribe to him if you're not already. I don't know why you wouldn't be. He's a legend. And come back to this video and watch the rest of the breakdown. So the way the sequence starts out is it fades from black. It kind of pulls back a little bit, if you can tell on the outer edges here. I come through the door, you hear the door open, a couple footsteps, and then there's the mask. So this clip, it actually was from scale 55, scaled all the way down to 50, and then ended up punching into 68 after, just to kind of add a little bit more dynamicness. That's a word. To the clip. It kind of just makes it look better, and I'm not even sure if the whole backpack was covering the shot, so you can also do that to make sure that the thing that you're trying to mask masks the whole frame rather than just a part of it. The next thing that I did was I added this door hinge sound, or this door opening sound that sounds like this. The interesting thing about this sound is that if you actually look at the series, the door handle never turns. So this sound technically wouldn't be possible because this sound is like of a door actually turning and unlocking, right? Like the mechanism that you can't just push a door open, right? It doesn't actually have to be like locked physically, like unable to go in. You just actually have to use the handle, door physics. But just because you kind of hear that sound and you see the door opening, your brain kind of puts it together and it doesn't kind of go into more detail about it. Nobody's actually messaged me saying, hey, you use the door opening sound effect, but the door handle doesn't open or anything. So you don't actually have to use the 100% most accurate sound effect always. You can just use something that you think will fit the best, and the viewer will get the perception and kind of get into the video. You know, it just kind of gives you that ambiance that, oh shit, the door is actually opening, you know? I just found it on Epidemic Sound. It's called Door Open Exit 6. You know, if you Google, or if you go on Epidemic Sound and you find, you know, door open or opening door sound, blah, 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 you'll find hundreds, and you'll find like door open exit 1 to 35. And the only way to find out which one is good is by going through them. Yeah, you can sort through popularity, but the popularity is only going to show which one was downloaded most, but it might not be the right one for your specific needs. So definitely go through them, you know, take the time to find the right sound effect. And then if you want to take the time afterwards, download it, then rename it when it's on your computer in your library to something else that you think might be a little bit more specific than door open exit 6, you know, like, I don't know, long door, short door, eerie door, whatever you want to call it, so that it's a little bit more detailed than open door exit 6. So the next thing in the series is footsteps. The footsteps were found the same way that door open creak thing was found. This one's just called Walk Wood Creaks 2. It just sounds like that, very basic. The whole sound was like multiple steps, but I just kind of cut it up into left, right, respectively, whichever sounded more like left, right. And then I actually, nobody probably noticed the difference, but I ended up changing their volume. The very first one is -9 decibels. The second one is -8. As I get closer, -6, and the last one is -2. And I only used one sound effect for the mask, this one. It was just kind of like a bassy swoosh, something that I thought would sound good when something passes right in front of the camera. Didn't add any treble or anything to that sound, so it's pretty stock. I'm pretty sure it's even yeah, full speed. So that was pretty much just like dropped it in and it sounded great. So moving on to the second clip, the zipper clip was actually pretty simple. I ended up just punching into 115 at the beginning of the clip, moving it all the way to the left-hand side of the screen, and then essentially let me zoom out more. And then essentially as the clip went, it creates kind of like a slider effect going from left to right while it's still punching in from 115 or zooming in from 115 to 125, just to add some more dynamicness to the clip, kind of make it look like it's moving even more left to right than it was originally, because otherwise just by itself it wasn't very dynamic like this clip like that. It was cool, but it wasn't really cool. Especially at the beginning. I mean, it's a zipper clip. It's not gonna be that fucking dope, but it's gonna be better than it was at the beginning. And the sound effect for this, again, as the other ones, go to Epidemic Sound. They have a really, really good sound library. Sometimes they don't have all the sounds that you're looking for, but typically what I find is that they actually have too many sounds. Like if you Google a very basic sound, they'll have like almost 1,000 of just one sound. So that's probably the bigger pain in the butt, is actually looking for higher quality sound effects, you know, than just some really, really like cartoony or things that just don't sound that great. So that's what I found being the hard part of Epidemic, but I digress. This zipper sound is pretty much Duffel Bag Empty 5, because the other ones I guess weren't great, but it just sounds like this. It just fit, and the thing that I really liked about this one is it went like it had that kind of build up, and essentially it made it sound like when it went fast here, you know, like how I mentioned that this kind of lacked a little bit. This, it sped up literally, like if you look, it speeds up right at that specific moment. So it was good. It was good. I really like that. A little bit that I had a conundrum about was, did I want to have the drop where the horns start right after like the drumsticks hit, like that? Did I want to have that at the clip change? So like right here, or did I want to have that right when I throw the camera up? I looked at it both ways. I had it set up in both ways, and the one where I throw it up just looked better. It just flowed a lot better. The other one felt like it dragged on a little bit extra because I was keeping the zipper for a little bit too long, so it just felt a little slow. But this one felt a lot better than the slower one for sure. The sound that I used for this shot was just a fast whoosh that I had in my library. No effects to it. I'm pretty sure it's even full speed. So just kind of drag and drop that in. It fit really nicely actually with the throwing up motion, because this is a funny story. I actually was trying to Google a sound effect that would match the upward throw. And I started Googling throw up sound, and you can imagine what actually ended up coming up after I Googled that on Epidemic. So I was trying to find different creative ways to find upward sounding throws. So I was like, throw upward direction throw in the upward direction, throw towards the upward direction, all that different shit. And honestly, like I wasn't really able to find like a really good shot. What honestly ended up coming up was just those different power up sounds, like because I guess that's the closest thing to power up and throw up. I don't know. I wasn't really able to find an ideal sound, but this one managed to take its place. Again, it goes back to the whole door sound at the beginning. It doesn't have to be exact, but if the viewer can hear it and they're essentially put into the video, it's done its job. The harder part about this clip was actually keyframing it all, position, scale, and rotation, because basically the clip looks like this, dry or raw, very basic. It looks cool with the speed ramping, but it's not nuts. I kind of wanted to have like you're being thrown up with the camera, like a form of like you're going up and then you're slowly like in the slow motion falling and then you go down quickly. So what I ended up doing was like keyframing the shot to go up from down here, then to the side, and then start rotating a little bit, and then it rotates even more at the end, and then it falls. And then the what is it, temporal interpolation and the spatial interpolation, these ones were put to Bezier. I never say these words, so I hope I'm not fucking them up. But because if they were linear, it felt too rough around the edges. Like it would be like, okay, we're going here, here, here. But when it's Bezier, essentially the way that it works is it kind of makes it like it evens it out. So instead of going like up, left, right, it kind of goes like this. Like it's a lot more smooth. If I'm being honest, I don't know the difference between temporal and spatial. The spatial one feels like I'm not even gonna try to describe it. So just Google it. Otherwise, moving on to this transition between the camera throw and bringing the camera into the shot, I was looking for a film burn in the handy, because I have the handy seamless transition pack. I couldn't really find a camera film or like a light leak that really looked that great. I looked for a pack and I found one on the internet. I was like the third Google result or something, and I liked it. What I especially liked was that this one flare here kind of went exactly the same way that the camera did from like right to left, and I thought that kind of just added to the flow of the video. You know, like it kind of like took you down and then you wrapped back up. That's the way I kind of felt about it. So yeah, the film burn is just there, you know, it's linear dodge because otherwise it would be just like on a black screen, like it would just look like this. And then this color matte, what this is essentially, it's this orange color. Essentially what I did was I dropped it or whatever to one of the flare colors. Like you just pick that color, I don't know what the fuck it's called. I essentially then masked it to make it look like the orange was going across the screen the same way the flare was, to give it a little bit of a more like realistic look, I guess. I don't know, because if I take it out, it looks good, but it doesn't look as filling visually. Like you don't really feel the oranginess come on as much, but this way it just feels a little bit warmer. Just kind of adds to it, I guess. And then sound wise for this clip, this one is a whoosh down because we're going down, you know, camera's going down, and it sounds like this. This one, again, I just turned it down to like minus 14 decibels, so it's not too overpowering in the sequence, but I needed these three sound effects to kind of play with each other, because this next one is a film burn sound effect, where it just kind of sounds like a film roll is rolling, and then you get this weird like fiery light up sound. It's very unique. I'm not too sure where I found this, but I'm sure if you Google film strip burns transition sound, you'll find, because I didn't rename it. And then the last sound effect in this transition is just a fast like swoosh. It's called weapon throw, just because I don't know, like that, I guess that's what it's called, but it sounds like this. I don't really know why it's called weapon throw. What I ended up doing at one point was finding gun Foley. Gun Foley is essentially when you try and make a cool gun sequence, you add all those clicks and all those sound effects. A gun doesn't actually sound like that, but when you add that, it just sounds cooler. So that's what I was trying to do with the clip. Was you'll see at the very last clip was just add a bunch of different types of Foley. And typically guns are the ones that have a lot of Foley recorded for them. If you Google gun Foley, so much will come up. So that's where I kind of found this shot, and a lot of other really random like throws and swooshes and whatever clicks that just sound really nice and satisfying are typically in gun Foley. So maybe check it out. I don't know. I've just had some success with it. But otherwise, all that puts together to sound and look like this. The reason I didn't have a BTS for this shot was because it was kind of like a bullshit shot. Like I didn't really think I was actually gonna put it in. I ended up reversing it because the shot was actually like this down to make it a reveal shot. It just looked cooler. The reason I ended up using it mainly was because the light on this looked really nice. Like the way that it, like the shadows fell. You saw the sewing really nicely. I just really like the way that it ended up looking. So that's why I kind of kept it in. Okay, and the next shot is me grabbing the lens out of the bag, and it goes onto the camera. This shot was interesting because it was I actually ended up flipping it horizontally because it didn't really flow with the next shot. Because the next shot is me pulling the lens in, turning it, and it going down. But this way I was pulling it to the left, where in the next shot, it didn't really make sense to go left and then right. So I just flipped it horizontally, and as I mentioned in the door hinge one, nobody noticed that this was flipped and that the window was somehow on the opposite side. I learned this actually from Jesse Driftwood. He mentioned that you can flip clips horizontally so that they can fit your sequence a lot better and it looks a lot smoother. Just make sure that it isn't too awkward and people might not be able to tell. I honestly thought some people might be able to tell, but nobody actually brought it up. So that's kind of nice. I mean, now you will, but before that it was nice. But otherwise, I pretty much added a warp stabilizer, speed ramped it, added a LUT like every other clip, and then flipped it, and that's how that clip came to be. I didn't kind of want to put a sound in here just because I thought it was a little bit too much. Like I didn't want every single transition to have a sound because it's a little bit too consistent at that point. I kind of wanted to have it a little bit different, you know, kind of wanted to have it odd in a sense. So that's why this specific transition didn't have a sound. But then moving on to the next clip, this one was actually done in After Effects, and it was done over here. The way that it worked was I used Handcam 2 left one of the handy seamless transitions where the clean cut looked fine, but I just didn't think it flowed as well as it could have. The only thing I wasn't a big fan of on this one was when it turns, you see this like this ring, this chrome ring or whatever from the lens, and it just kind of feels a little bit off-putting. I ended up speeding it up a little bit, like choosing a faster version of the transition just so I could see less, because at one you saw 3 and now you only see the reflection of 2, and then it goes into the actual one. Otherwise, that was the only thing that kind of bothered me about this part, was this, like these two were a little bit off-putting. Regardless, the shot came out pretty decently. This red was pretty much from the sound effect with that like handy seamless gives you. Just kind of sounds like this. It's just average. It's just like a... So this specific sound effect that I used for going left to right in this transition was what I kind of say is like an exaggerated effect, where it obviously doesn't sound like this. Going from left to right, I think I slowed it down. No, I didn't even slow it down. It's 100%. But it just kind of gave me that like drag. You know, like it just kind of looked like this shot was dragging, and it just kind of fit. I tried a few other whooshes and swooshes, but this one just looked like it fit nicely. And the other thing too was this one is just -8 decibels because the music in the background and everything is so loud that it had to be, it kind of added more of an atmosphere rather than an independent sound effect, because this one and the linked one were able to kind of play off of each other, and in that way it just kind of flowed even better than it did. This one is part of that gun Foley thing I was telling you about, where this is literally like a machine gun Foley, like that's what it sounded like. And then the next one was literally like a loading of the gun. And I ended up cutting the last part out of the second one, that like at the end, but sounds like this. And it just kind of worked, you know, it almost did sound like the camera, like the genuine like camera lens movement. That's why I don't think anybody commented on it. And plus, gun Foley just sounds dope as fuck. Like, I think you could load batteries into a remote control and add gun sound effects to it, and it would just look dope as fuck. Gun Foley, man, give it a try. But don't overuse it. Like me, maybe, I don't know. I just thought it looked cool. So then afterwards, this clip in After Effects essentially just goes down and there's a mask to it. So that's the way that this clip works, because the camera, as you saw in the BTS, actually did go down. It wasn't like a position movement within, or a transform thing. It was in camera transition, just with a mask, and that's how I got that shot. No BTS shot for this, because this was like a very, very basic, just like a moving shot, like 100% any of you could even do this shot. And then added like a light leak. Again, I like this light leak because it kind of added to the Sony a little bit, and it was moving in the same direction as the movement was. So it added more dynamicness to the whole sequence as a whole in the shot. I was thinking about adding a sound effect to this light leak, but I didn't want to make it too much. Like, I didn't want to add that like glint sound effect, because I was like, okay, that just would have taken away a little bit, you know? I'm getting away with fucking gun sounds and gun Foley. Let's not add too much shit. But I think this was the exact same. Yeah, this was the swoosh down from the camera transition. Pretty much just reused it here because it's perfect. This clip, this clip goes on for a second, and then it just does a really, really simple fade to black. All I did was just mask it this way and position it just to get the ideal movement, and then reveal, you know, like this is not too much science. This adjustment layer is blurriness of Gaussian blur. I don't know if I mentioned it in these other ones too, that I added some Gaussian blur. Oh, not that one, this one. I added some Gaussian blur to some of the left to right movements, just so it looked not as like harsh on the edges. It kind of gave it a little bit more, as you can see here, it kind of gives it a little bit softer of a look than it would otherwise. It's not a big deal, because if you make it too heavy on the Gaussian blur, it'll be really obvious, but just something subtle. And the sound effect that I ended up using for that too was kind of like a slower swoosh. It was like a long mix. It's like swoosh 3 long, That's what it sounds like a left to right kind of thing. I'm not sure if my timing on this was great, but I also don't think that the timing of the sound effect as well as the video were identical. So it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. So now we move on to the very last shot. Now this shot took a lot of choreography in the field, in the sense that it was all done mostly in camera. So I didn't really need to do a lot of editing to it besides just speed ramping it at good times. And that kind of made it interesting, and having enough time that it ended exactly kind of when I wanted it to end. But otherwise, like editing wise, like there's no position, there's no scaling on this clip whatsoever. It's all just speed ramping and then adding these different effects. This was that different fast swoosh that I added. This one sounded like it went up nicely, kind of turned it down, no other effects. Just kind of fit this song a little bit too, because by itself it sounds really like harsh, right? Like, but within the song, you can't really hear it. It almost sounds minor than it is like harsh, you know? Like it almost sounds like it's in the background rather than like it's supposed to be like an alpha sound, if that even makes sense in your guys' head. It doesn't mind. The other thing that I added that some people caught but some people didn't catch was this sound. It's just the catching sound. It's literally baseball catch one. I just thought that it sounded so perfect to catching. And it just, I don't know, to me when I added that sound, I was like, I'm there. Like when I added that, I was like, okay, that's it. This next sound was okay, it's like a light whoosh. I wanted to kind of do helicopter blades at this point, but I didn't spin the battery enough to kind of warrant some helicopter blades, like this light whoosh kind of did something. You can barely hear. Like if I don't think if you don't have headphones or some sort of better audio, you don't hear it. If you listen to it on your phone, I don't think you hear it at all. And then here we are back to the gun Foley. So this is gun Foley pistol. Yeah, so it was pretty much one sound. It was something like that, and then I ended up cutting it just to get this, lowered this decibel because it sounded too overpowering. But I wanted this last part to be loud because the clicking typically when you put the battery in is loud. And it worked, and it sounded really nice. And then moving on towards the end, this is a riser that I have. Like I have a pack of risers, and essentially adds drama. That's all it really does. It adds drama because it's building up the last, like it's building up like, oh, he's pulling up the camera, what's happening? This sound effect was a fast swoosh because I just thought like it would like kind of fit because the camera is going in front of the other camera. I don't know how to kind of put it, but it just kind of like fit in the sense of I can barely hear it, but I don't know. If I took it out, it probably would be the same or it wouldn't. It just kind of fit. And then obviously the focus beeps, and then the shutter clicks, and that's pretty much it. And then the other thing that I added was a pure white screen. This is just a white screen that gives the flash look. You know, that's what you can do to add that extra little transition sometimes, you know, if you want to have that like just to be able to go from one clip to another. And then this is just text. You guys probably know how to do all that shit. And then because the song kind of fit nice, it kind of went click and then just mellows out. And other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all learned something. If you did learn something, comment down below what you learned. I'm really curious to see what you all took away from this video. Other than that, make sure to stay safe, stay at home. It's your boy Christian Kadar, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!